They're supposed to bridge the gap between home and school. For some, the bridge is falling down, and for others, the bridge is strong and functioning like a well oiled machine. I'm talking about PTAs. In the nation's Saturday Sun, there was a call for PTAs to pull together. This program was planned long before that article, and we're going to be addressing some of the issues in the article, but I think before we can get the PTAs to be functioning, we need to look at parents and how we can encourage them to become a part of the PTA. Here to discuss this and more is the president of the National Council of Parent Teachers Association, Mr. Shone Gibbs. Mr. Gibbs, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you also.
Now, before we get into the organization and how it functions, et cetera, tell me a little bit about yourself. How did you first become involved in PTAs?
I was involved in PTAs. This is now at least 20 years. And I have been president for at least in the junior school. I have been president for about 11 years.
Wow.
So I know the ins and outs and have been versed in the laws pertaining to PTAs, chapter and verse from the national level, and reviewing local constitutions. But I would say it's a love, it's a passion that I have, and I would like to see much more of PTAs strong and vibrant, and knowing that what can be achieved from PTAs being strong and vibrant is, you can't imagine they can do anything.
So tell me something, though. When you first joined the PTA, I believe it was probably from one of your son or your daughter?
Son, yeah.
What made you decide to do it?
What happened? Let me see. We had a very good president then. And he said to me, you will be good president. I said, me? He said, yeah, I hand over to you in the next election. I said, me, you sure? Nevertheless, he did. And he stayed on as vice president. And after the first year, he said, good job. You've done a very good job in molding helping all the parties on the council to work together. You're the man, carry on.
But you obviously understood as a parent that you needed to become involved in your child's life outside of the home and the relationship between the home, the teacher and the parent, obviously.
Without a shadow of a doubt, I can see all the teachers that taught my son at that age. I can see them vividly. I know them personally, and we develop a strong relationship. And just let me say, it's not to say that some relationships wouldn't get antsy, but there was always a way to settle things. And one of the things that we pride ourselves on as a PTA is that if there's an issue that you have that you can't handle, the PTA is there for that. And we would speak to the principal of the school, and we will have it resolved immediately.
Now, we agree that the PTA is a partnership, as you said, between the parent and the teacher. And like all relationships, of course, as you said, there will be some time when you would obviously disagree. What some of the issues that you would say is permeating the PTAs from a local level? When I say local, individual schools, and then on a national level?
At the local level, one of the things that I find disturbing is that I've seen some first-class PTAs. I mean, first class. I admire those PTAs. In some cases, we use those PTAs as models. And then you have a principal who have a different style. And one of the things that I find is that there's no gelling of the different personalities.
Oh, okay.
And I always say to parents, remember, you're passing through. The principal will be here for a long time. So you have to work with him, even if he's not your preferred, or her, even if they're not your preferred choice of a leader,
right.
You have to work with them. And I find that too many persons say, look, I'm done with this. And they throw a very good thing out through the window. And to me, I've seen in the last 4 years, we've lost about 12 first-class PTs because of different with principals. And it's not difference that cannot be resolved. Is to get someone who the principal would sit down with and the PTA would sit down with and let them work through those problems.
Okay.
But they don't ever come to that point.
What about on the national level, the same thing?
The national level pretty much takes on the look of the domestic level, because if a domestic PTA have a complaint and you go and you ask to ameliorate this situation, you don't get a response.
Okay.
You don't get a response. And this is where the Ministry of Education can come in, and they too can mandate that they meet and resolve the issue.
I know you obviously would have been investigated PTAs, all over the world, even the Caribbean. Tell us, what are some of the things that you found with regards to how PTAs are run outside of Barbados?
Well, right now I'm the treasurer for the Caribbean National Council.
Okay.
We did that online because we were working to get it up very fast, especially in this COVID times. And one of the things I would say, PTAs, the national PTAs at that level are taken very serious in countries. In Trinidad, for instance, they have their own home. Trinidad, they have Jamaica, they have their own home also. And if you go as far as in the United States, where you have PTA, the National Council of PTAs, there are ones that sit together and they from time to time say what teachers should be paid. They are integral part of
almost like a little union.
Yeah, like a union. Yeah,
Okay.
they're the integral part of what happens with teachers. And some might say that's not good, that's not bad, but no, they are interested in the children education, and and if you see in those parts where the National Council play a part in what teachers are paid, they are paid better.
Okay.
They are paid better.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course. Now, I know that obviously your focus is on the primary and secondary, and I deal with the babies to preschool. And to me, that's where it starts. Okay. And I think that a lot of parents sometimes feel that maybe it's because it's a baby, they don't need to become involved. They wait till they get to primary school or secondary school to become involved in the PTAs. Talk to me about that.
I always say, and I go back to this stage, and if there's one time that you see all your parents is at 11 plus.
Yes.
Yes. At 11 plus. I remember there was a guy that I saw during 11 plus, was a friend of mine. I said, "You got a child here?" He said, "Yeah." I
Never saw you before.
Serious? Never seen him before. But that is where you get a hive of activity, and the interest is in the 11 plus results. Let's stop, go back. I always say to parents, your interest in children should grow, should be involved from the time, matter of fact, before they can talk. You help them to walk. What they're doing at nursery, you need to know at home, and what they're doing at home, nursery needs to know. There needs to be that communion where people get together and share what the baby is doing, what he likes here, what he don't like here. Vegetables is a good example.
True.
He would eat carrots at the nursery. He want them when he get home, and things like that.
True.
So,
and if the mother knows that or whatever, then you can say, "Wait a minute, what's going on here?" You know what I mean? And try another tactic. Speak to the teacher. And what do you use? What are you doing? How you get him to eat as opposed to me?
Correct.
So working together.
So working together like that is of very, very, very important. And as the child grows, you get involved more, and you share and you talk to the teachers. And similarly, homework, schoolwork, you support them all the way. But when you come to 11 plus, you don't want parents there. Then you go over to junior school and they start backing off. But children need us more the older they get.
Yes.
For the very reason that the challenges are greater. And just look at what happened here recently in the coming in CXC, CAPE, and such like, and you see the need for parents all the way
through,
and don't just get on because it's the urgency. This is a serious matter, and now we had to come together and force the union to support those children. But if you were working with them all along, you would have been in a better position to guide them.
True. Interesting. I think we all know that it is a fact that when parents become more involved in the child's life, especially at school, the children do better.
I will wrap this up this way for you. And my son was never a bright spark. He was brilliant, and he went through school and he loved play. I mean, he come home and he play. He go out, he play. Anywhere you go, you see a ball, he's there.
Okay.
And he was more interested in playing than doing the work. I said, Caleb, you got to give me something. But daddy, you know what? He passed the exam after giving him a challenge. I said, Caleb, you can pass at Harrison College if you want to go to Harrison College. But if you continue at this level, all your friends will go on like you. He passed at Harrison College. And I had the teachers about it because they know he would be expected to perform, otherwise he'd stop down. And I really had the teachers about it. And then he went through Harrison College. He was in football. He was the vice captain at some point in time. He was the president of the key club. And he did all of this without stopping down and was a model student at the school because of my interest in him all the way. If you invest in children, they will see and they will return that to you somewhere along. Very often my son said to me, I got involved in Key Club because of you, Daddy.
Wow.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Okay, COVID-19, school, children, teachers, online learning, blended classroom. Where are we? How are we doing?
When we came back to this, when it was first online before we moved to blended, I thought this was a perfect opportunity for teachers and parents to find a common ground and work together. And I still believe that it is a place where teachers and parents can work together and build harmony in the interest of the children. Blended learning is what we're doing right now, and most parents want to get back into school full time.
Yes.
Teachers prefer full time too.
Of course.
But we have to operate by the protocols as directed by the World Health Organization, by Ministry of Education, by Health and Wellness, and those different parties. So the thing for us to do now is find a ground where we can work on together. And one of the things that being very disturbing this whole affair is the online platform have been used for less than good measure at given time. The interruptions that you get in online, interrupting other persons, where teachers have to shut down certain persons or put everybody on mute and such like, and so they can teach the class. So I think we have a good opportunity in the blended program, but we must use it effectively. It's good, but they must use it effectively.
How can parents support the children more, especially during this time?
That's a good thing, because if you're home, if you're not home, you can't.
Right.
And I think this is where, and this be it called for this long time ago, and maybe people need to get back to that point where you could monitor any CPU, any desktop, anything you have on computer, you can have a monitor on it, so you know exactly what is happening. And I think that is something that we have to, parents need to get smart with computers like the children.
Of course, because most of the time the parents are so far behind. And I think also they need to, where they may have been reluctant, to become involved in with the computer and that sort of thing, that they need to really take the time now to get there, because we don't know how much longer this is going to go on.
That is true.
It is going to go on. You are convinced that the teachers are willing and want to work with the parents as well? Or they sometimes we know parents can be very rough and cause issues.
Yes, that is true. And I always say to teachers, teachers are so impactful and powerful
Yes, they are.
that the worst behaved parent, you just need to isolate that parent and address them on a one-on-one, and that parent will change. I've seen it in my school before where they don't go close to him, but the teacher took the time, isolate that person, and that person became an aid to the school in ways that you would have never dreamed of. So don't let us talk about those parents, because there's one thing that always happens. When you have those parents, isolate them and address them. In a business environment, when you have a bad customer, what do? You don't chase him out through the door. You call him in, you and him,
yes,
and you try to settle that. And that is what I would like to see more teachers doing, more principals doing with those persons that don't want coming in school late. Yeah.
Because I think once they see that you are really interested in the child,
you see the children,
they calm down.
The worst children in your class,
what
all
you consider
they want
to be the worst
is attention. They're crying out for attention. They'll get it one way or the other.
Yes.
Yeah.
What about, I said in my introduction that some PTAs are struggling and some are, as you said, are running very well. What would you say to those persons who are involved in those PTAs that are struggling, that they want to give up because, the executive is not working, they call a meeting, nobody's coming, et cetera, et cetera. What would you say to encourage them not to give up?
For a very long time in Barbados, we look at the PTAs in schools, and very little, maybe 4, was getting close to 10% of parents coming out. And just let me say, we always felt that support for a PTA was pretty much their parents that would never come to a PTA meeting.
Why?
But they pledge and they give every resource that they have to the school. Yes. That is okay. So the ones that are struggling, I would say, don't give up. You need to get involved. You need to stay with it as long as you can. And remember, you're only passing through for 2, 3, or 5 years. You need to stay with it. I would say you need to identify parents. And if you start right from the nursery school and you identify parents that would give to this thing, by the time you get to secondary school, you have a cadre of parents that are interested. We need to start. This is where the seed is sown for me to plant, to pull the weed in the higher stage of the education.
Right.
So you're at the nursery level. You need to plant. You need to plant.
Yes.
Yes, and that would help a lot. And again, I say, I look at schools that used to have fears, and we always say, you want to see parent support, have a fear. And those parents used to come out in the numbers, and you still help us to generate $30-something thousand. That is parent support. Why they're not coming to the meetings? It can be for several reasons. Some are too busy.
Yes. Some
are studying and work doesn't allow it. And you want to know if it should be Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. It's never easy to choose a day.
Yes, and time, that's another issue too.
But I would say this is where I'm calling on the head. The principals embrace the PTAs. If they get the support they need from the principals with 5, 11, they will grow and grow. I remember a PTA that moved from 5, 11, and last time I visited that PTA, they were hosting at least 30 people. They were happy. They were encouraged to go on.
The whole question now of, we mentioned the fears, but obviously, such events, we are pretty much can't have those large events anymore. So they also, in terms of coming up with new ideas to even get together, obviously they may be having Zoom meetings, but in terms of raising money, because I know a lot of the schools also depend on the PTAs to assist with funds. In terms of having events that can generate some sort of income as well.
We have to look at alternatives, and right now, given of the PTA is so important and becomes so like buying computers, helping out and such
Right.
is hard on the PTAs. So we push back on schools, we utilize our savings and everything. So we are now looking for ways online that we could raise funds for the school. Yeah.
Okay. Now, as president, you've served for how many years again?
Just about 4.
4. Okay. Now, what would you say to the incoming new executive team that will be serving on a national level in terms of some of the key things that they need to work on to keep this whole PTA organization going?
Get involved. Get involved. You will benefit if you get involved. I always say to parents, if you join the PTA not knowing, Obama did not know, you will learn. And as you go, you will learn so much. And there's a lady that when she joined the PTA, she didn't know nothing, and now she's working in a job that have benefited her tremendously. Yeah.
I don't think you could put it any better. I think we just need to get them to understand.
Get involved.
To get involved. I'm sure you have not regretted your decision.
Not at
these
all.
years.
I've enjoyed it from the get-go. And where this pretty much be maybe my last speech as a PTA president, I would say that it have been good. It have been rewarding. I have been privileged to go on several conferences and such like, and you can join and you could be the next person to lead your PTA in that forum.
And once again, to the parents who, their child is in nursery and they figured that I don't need to go to a meeting to know what's happening with my nursery. My child that's in nursery or in kindergarten. What again would you tell them? I know you said just get involved. But obviously, it is not. You have to want and understand the need to. You may not be able to make every meeting, but you need to make the effort.
As your child grows, he will need you more. And when they're little babies, we can't leave them. We don't want to leave them. But you see, that's how important teachers are. We trust you with our children. And we think that we can take a little time off. But no, we need to work with you, hands in hands together. Many hands make light work.
True.
We need to work with you to make it easy.
Mr. Gibbs, thank you so much for coming and sharing your experiences, your thoughts on the PTA. We can't emphasize it enough. We as parents, we need to become more involved in our children. We need to join the PTAs and work hand in hand with the teachers so that we can achieve positive results with regards to our children. Thank you so much, and I wish you all the best.
Thank you also.